Hi there, thanks for joining me. Just want to take a couple minutes to point out some of the new features in our latest JMARS release. The biggest new feature is a revamped 3D view. So first of all, we want to see the 3D. We go to the view menu up here, and there's a checkbox for 3D view. If we enable that, it will pull up a new window that has, voila, our 3D view. So one thing to note is that pulled up very quickly for me, and that's because I had already actually been playing with JMARS before I started doing this recording. So I had opened the 3D view once before. The first time you open the 3D view, it will take a little bit of time because it has to download some data and project everything to 3D. So just be aware of that and be patient. Another thing to note is that it is using a little bit more memory because the 3D is more memory intensive than 2D, so running JMARS with some extra memory is useful. Another thing, if we go back to our view over here, we can see that there is now a new button next to each of our layers. Next to the M&P, we also have this little globe looking thing, and what that does is that's the 3D view, so we can turn layers off independently for the different layers. So the main, the panner, and the 3D can all look different depending on how we want them to. Another thing to note is that some of the layers actually have individual settings about the 3D. So it's possible if you load a layer in the 2D, it doesn't look exactly the same in the 3D. If that's the case, go check out the settings. In this case, the 3D and the main view have the exact same settings, so they look the same. But there are some layers, such as nomenclature or other layers, where some of the default settings are different for the views. So if you're wondering why they look different, go check there. And then yeah, how the layer works. So if you adjust transparency in any of your layers, it's going to redraw in the 3D. And so this is what I'm talking about. It can take a little bit of time to redo these things. So the let long grid just got a bit lighter. Obviously we can turn it off and on. If we go add a new layer, say let's just do the KRC layer. If I put a point down, say OK, it draws the label right away, but it's going to take a second to redraw the point that's actually on the screen. So anything we do in the 2D the work will be done in 3D too. So one thing to keep note of is if you want to be doing a lot of work, suggest closing the 3D, doing your work, and then opening the 3D to view it. Otherwise, JMARS can be a little bit slower because it's trying to redraw in both places at the same time. Another thing that can be useful is if you have both views open and you went and started looking at some place in the 2D, and you want your 3D to be the same, under the view menu there is a sync 3D to main view, so that's going to recenter us on the same part. So now we're looking at the same place for both of the views, and there is a similar functionality in the 3D view too. So if we had gone to a place, let's go anywhere, Valles Marineris, and then we go over to the sync menu up here, it says synchronize main view. So now the main view looks like where we are for the 3D view. That can be really useful. Another thing to take a quick note of is obviously I'm on Mars, and on Mars in the larger bodies such as the Moon or Earth, we use a sphere to represent the body because that is pretty accurate for how large the bodies are. They're basically a sphere. For our smaller bodies such as Phobos or Ceres or Vesta or any of the smaller moons or asteroids, that's not the case. They're not a sphere. So we actually have accurate shape models of how the bodies look, and so viewing them in 3D can be really cool because you can actually get an idea of what they look like, and sometimes the 3D view is much better context to look at than 2D view because not all of the bodies project really well into 2D if they're a very weird shape, such as Itokawa or other bodies like that that are super elongated. So definitely go check out those bodies if you've never seen them in 3D. It's very cool. That's our main addition to JMARS for this release. There's also another addition about the higher resolution export. So if you've ever used that before, it's found in the same spot. There's a menu, a toolbar menu up here, and there's also a file menu item right here. And so how that works is if we use the file menu, it's going to export the entire 2D main view that we see. If we use the tool, it allows you to select just a subset of that if you wish. Either way, once you do either of those things, it will pop up this window. This first window allows you to export at the higher resolution than what you're viewing, so you can pick which PPD you want to export at. you have an option to scale the shapes. So if you're exporting at higher resolution, your image is going to be bigger, so you can scale the shapes so that they're still easily viewable. If you don't want to scale them, you have an option to also not do that, so that they don't take up more room on the image. And then you select a file for where you want it to go and say OK, and it will export your new image for you. It will export everything that's viewing in the main view. So if you want to have your main view look differently, change your settings, and then go for the export and try that out. Those are two of the biggest changes in this release, and please feel free to check them out. Look at the bodies. Different bodies in 3D are very cool. Shoot us any comments or suggestions if you play with it. And yeah, we hope you like it. Great. Thank you.